Hi everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Lokaremi and I'm so excited to be back. Actually, I feel like for me at least it's been quite a minute because I've just been all over the place, but I'm just excited to be back. So, the conversation today is really about contentment, and I was just thinking about this thing and I remember saying in my heart, as for me, I'm okay. I promise I'm okay. And I think that is how I'm going to title this video, that I'm okay. I promise I'm okay. Because you see, now we are in a very difficult economic period, and if we are being honest, nothing is looking like it's gonna get better. So if this is the case, then it means we have to ready ourselves for even tougher times. So in that case, what are we supposed to do? And I'm not here with solutions. I'm just here to tell you some things. So, it's been a minute since I read the story of Esther, but I've had that thought. So, I'm here to share that thought. So, the book of Esther, the story of Esther. She's an orphan raised by an uncle. Nothing much to her story until she is referred by her uncle to go and just be, I don't know, go try out and see if you're gonna be queen. And guess what? It was not just trying out, she actually became queen. And the story continues. But now you see, Esther is a queen, but then she's not the supreme authority. So even as queen, she needs to follow the rules when it comes to, just having conversations with the king, approaching the throne and whatnot. And so it comes to this point where Esther, under instructions of Mordecai, needs to approach the king, and it's a very slippery slope because anyone that approaches the king without permission from the king, is beheaded. And Esther is not about that beheading thing. So she prays and fasts, and then she's ready, and confidently she approaches the throne. Confidently she approaches the king, and the king raises the scepter, and so Esther is just free to continue speaking because this lady had actually found favor with God. Not to mention, she was really pretty, because you see, they had taken 12 months for preparation, but that's not the point of the agenda. But it's also a point that you need to dress a certain way. You can't dress like a pauper. So if you know that you are priestly, you are kingly, and a son to the Most High, you need to start looking the part. We are out here misrepresenting Jesus, looking like what we look like. But with Esther, it was different. This lady was pretty. She was well kept for 12 months. They were prepared in everything that they needed to be prepared in. And so Esther approaches the king, and she has this request, and this is something that caught my attention. This is what the king said. What do you want from me, Esther? And the king said, even up to half of my kingdom, it is yours. If you want it, it is yours. I'm getting excited, you guys. Yani, this king told Esther, even before Esther could issue her request to the king said, baby girl, what do you want? Even half of my kingdom, it's already yours. You want it, it's yours. Let me tell you, I have opinions, I have things to say, but I'm not here to share my opinion. Let me just tell you what came to mind. In my mind, I was like, what a perfect opportunity. See, because Esther had found so much favor with the king, she could have easily said, well, if that's up for offer, then I'll have half of your kingdom. And then I'll also add 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then you see, because she had already captured the heart and the mind of the king, then the king would have willingly done that. But Esther didn't do that. Because why? She was contentment. You see what I mean? Alikuwa ametosheka. She had satisfaction in what was already hers. It's not that she knew her place. It's actually that she knew her place. Let me explain. If you are an Esther from a potentially humble background, because we gather that Mordecai was a gatekeeper. So from a potentially humble background, you are an orphan, you've led all your life just like that, and then out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, out of Jesus, but then just one day you wake up and you have so much favor from the king. The first agenda would be to make sure that you and your entire lineage would never ever again be paupers. So if you are a queen, then you make sure you have enough finances, you stock up enough gold, you stock up enough power, so that you and the next generations will never have to suffer. See, unfortunately, that is the mindset of scarcity that is planted on so many people, especially during difficult financial times. The idea that I am going to run out of money, I am running out, I am using the very least of what I had saved, at the very end, there's more taxes coming and prices of food and fuel continue to go up. If that is your reality, then the immediate human nature is to become stingy. With Esther, it was different. She got favor. She caught the eye of the king, so she got too much favor. Actually, not just the eye of the king, she caught the eye even of the eunuchs. So people around her were favoring her. People were just treating her so nicely, royalty. I just imagine in my head that whenever she just said, I really don't feel like doing mango juice, can I have apple juice? The eunuchs and all the servants would just be like, of course, my darling, you can have anything that you want. So I can really relate to that, because I feel like in my head, that is what favor looks like. When everyone is just on your case, everyone is just ready to do things for you. People are just excited to serve you and just be in your corner like that. And so I imagine Esther being like that. And so, in essence, she lacked nothing. If anything, she had just the perfect opportunity to capitalize on the favor and actually gain so much traction for her life, making sure that for her and her entire lineage, there would no longer be poverty. But this is not what Esther did. Instead, Esther went to the king and she submitted to the king. And she said, me, I have something to tell you. And the king said, even up to half my kingdom, it is yours, God. If you want it, it's yours. And this is what Esther replied. She said, no, in fact, me, I want to gift you this party, and I want you to come with XYZ. And that is what happened. And there's more to the story. You should go take your time and read the whole of Esther. It's an amazing book, but that is not the moral of my story yet again. So let me go to the point. The point is, Esther had a very, very clean-cut opportunity to plunder, so to speak, to get half the kingdom. This was a big kingdom, because the verses earlier should tell you that the king was flaunting his wealth for, I think, 7 days. He went on flaunting his wealth, his possessions, and everything continuously. Every single day, people were gathered in that kingdom to just see how majestic he was as a king, how much wealth he had accumulated, just the splendor that was this king's. And in all these days, he was holding a party. Ilikuwa sherehe after sherehe. These people were just having a good time, party after party. And as this was happening, on the last day, the king now wanted to crown the whole splendor by showcasing the wife. And then the wife refused. Hence the story of Esther, right? So Esther is given a chance, for a clean-cut chance, for actually becoming wealthy for life, for actually being equal to the king, because if it's half the kingdom, then it means they will be at par with the king. Then the rules she is making are more or less similar to the king. So she would actually be a co-king to the king. That is a clean-cut opportunity. And then Esther decided, no, there's something more I want. Something that most people don't understand is that although the king was offering half the kingdom, Esther understood that the entire kingdom was already hers. Let me tell you, Maina, the entire kingdom was already Esther's. Why? Because for one, she is the queen. For two, she has the king wrapped around her finger like this. As in, she has so much favor with the king that everything that belongs to the king is already hers. That is why it is so easy for the king to say, even if you won't have my kingdom, you can have it. Because Esther had so much favor with the king. Plus, Esther already had favor with every other worker, including the eunuchs. So this means, by default, everything in that kingdom belonged to Esther. So she didn't need half. She was like, you're not about to downscale me. You're not about to shortchange me. I don't want to have the kingdom when I already have the whole kingdom to myself. This was just amazing to me. Plus, you also have to understand that for the king to marry Esther, the king had really liked Esther from amongst the many ladies that are gathered. So anything that Esther would have wanted, it was already hers. Do you see what I mean? It was already hers. The entire kingdom was already hers. And this is what God was trying to teach me in that moment, that a lot of the times we settle for so little because we think that is the only option we have. That is the only clean cut option we have. We can get away with so much. So, I might as well settle for this guy. I might as well settle for this woman. I mean, my time is running out. I might as well settle for this job or this house. We settle for so much because we fail to understand we are already sons. We are already kings and priests unto the Lord. So every single thing that Jesus has, which by the way is everything, we already have. So this thing, you see, this thing where the enemy was, where the devil, let me just call him by his name, this thing where the devil was already tempting Jesus and being like, let me show you everything that you're missing out on. All of these things, they can be yours if you just bow down to me. And Jesus was like, yo, me, I know better. Guess what? All these things are already mine. In fact, you are also under me. You get to report to me. It's only that right now I am in man form, so I am limited in some way because I am a man. But best believe, even you yourself, even you come to consult me. So you remember, the devil had to converge with the angels to consult God about in the about interrupting Job's life. So this means that even the devil himself needs permission. Remember the other time when Jesus was casting out the demons were begging him, please send us into the pigs, which means even them, they have to bow. But in this moment, because Jesus was already in a very vulnerable place, he had fasted for 40 days and nights. He was hungry, he was tired, he had drawn so much from himself as a human being. Because the enemy understood these things, he knew this would be the perfect time to shortchange Jesus and make sure that he gives up the entire kingdom for half of it. And Jesus was like, not today, devil. You are not going to catch me. You are not about to catch me. And I just really love that. The idea that you know who you are enough to know that I cannot afford to settle. Not that I cannot afford to settle. There is no way I'm settling because what I already have is so much more. There is no way I'm going to settle for something lesser than what God has already put in the books for me. See, what we also need to know is that in the heavens, there are books that were written beforehand concerning our lives. So every single thing that the Lord wrote about our lives, it must come to pass. But the only way it comes to pass is when you do not compromise. When you understand that from the word go, it was you. You were chosen, you are anointed, you were appointed for such a time as this. Such a time as this. And the kingdom, it is already yours. Imagine it is already yours. It is already yours. So imagine I am okay. I promise you I am okay. Even when the economy is different, I promise you I am okay. Because what? Whatever is the Lord is already mine. Whatever belongs to the Lord is already mine. So I don't need to settle for half the kingdom. I don't need to compromise. I don't need to, corrupt here and there so that I can get a good job. I really do not need to compromise. Whatever God has is already mine. And if it is written in the books concerning my life, best believe. Best believe. You see, I just remember the story of Jacob. Jacob, before birth, there was a prophecy over the mother, Rebecca and Isaac. There was this promise that you guys are going to sire two nations. In your womb are two nations. One will be, the younger one will be in charge of the other one, and the other one will serve, and something like that. And so from the word go, Jacob was the chosen one. Whether or not it is controversial, whether or not it is unagreeable in your mind, Jacob was the chosen one even before birth. And so by the time Jacob is being birthed and he comes to earth, imagine he shortchanges himself by lying, manipulating, so that he can get the thing that was already his by decree. It was already his by the decree of God. Before birth, it was already his. Imagine it was already his, that birthright, that blessing, Jacob was already blessed. So this thing for, let me put on sheep clothing so that my skin is rough and hairy, that my father who is blind can believe me, that is all manipulation. That is now Jacob settling for half the kingdom when the entire kingdom was already his. Now it meant like for him, he is dividing what he has with Esau. It was already his. Everything was already Esther's. Everything was already Jacob's. Do you see what I mean? It already belonged to Jacob. It already belonged to Esther. So even for you, you really do not need to compromise. And that's not even the good part. That's not even the goodest news. That's not even the best part of this story. The even better news is Esther already understood that the kingdom was hers. But more to it, she understood that I'm also fighting for a second kingdom. This is not a fight I'm just doing so that I can have this kingdom. Fine, I may get half the possession and it may look like literally, tangibly, I have half the kingdom. But in reality, I know I have the entire kingdom. But then also, there's the kingdom of the Jews. The Jews are in distress. Guess what? If I stand in the gap right now, if I give up this thing and be contented in just me being queen and submitting to king, then I get to have two kingdoms. I retain this initial kingdom, the whole of it. Number two, I win over the kingdom of the Jews. As in, how are you going to convince me that the Jews did not listen to Esther moving forward? From that day henceforth, they must have acknowledged Esther as their queen. Actually, they must have, because this was the same woman that fought for their rights. This was the woman that made sure the Jews will not be killed. The Jews can live. The Jews can continue to worship. Their rights were fought for. So best believe, even the loyalty of the Jews was now on Esther, which means Esther now had the kingdom that was initially hers by virtue of marriage, and now she had the kingdom of the Jews. Imagine getting two kingdoms. And if you want to add the cherry on top of the cake, Esther also secured further the heart of the king, because now the king established that Esther is not after his property. Esther is genuinely after his heart. So guess what? Esther ends up being king. Esther ends up being royalty, ends up being king over three things: over the husband, over the kingdom, the kingdom of Persia, and then over the Jews. Ebu, imagine that. All because she was satisfied. And you see, when Esther was making these decisions, it was not in a very high moment. She was not experiencing a good time for her to decide that, oh no, maybe it's okay. Maybe I know who I am. No, these were tough times. The people were about to be killed, which means if she would have allowed it, then even Mordecai, the uncle, would have died. And it would have just been a whole thing, a massacre, a genocide for so many people, innocent people. But because Esther knew her place, she knew who she was. She knew who she was as a Jew, so she knew her place in God. She also knew her place as king. Her ear was tuned in to the wise counsel of Mordecai. So every decision she made, she was well informed. So maybe I encourage you. We are living in very, very tricky times, and there's a very high affinity to sin. Because living compromise is going to look easier, because the right way is going to be tough. You're going to have to pay taxes, which are very high. You're going to have to, even something as small as paying your matatu bus fare. Like if you're using public transport and then you get an opportunity to get away with transport money, the times you're living in, best believe everyone is waiting for an opportunity to get away with something. But in reality, if you really, really know who you are, then you will understand what Prophet Isaiah was saying. He said, do not call everything a conspiracy that these people are calling a conspiracy. For you, yours is a different system. Whatever everyone is dreading, you can't afford to dread. Yours is different. Your stance has to be different. You are of a king. You are of a different kingdom. You see, it's like how the embassy of different nations in our country operates. Now, the United States has an embassy here in Kenya. You want to tell me now they are being hit by hard economic times? Nope. No matter how much ill is happening in Kenya, the US embassy functions like the US system, the country itself. So whatever is happening in the United States is also being replicated in the embassy of the United States here in Kenya. So whether we are going through hard economic times or not, the embassy is not going through hard economic times. They may feel some impact, they may read the paper, they may watch the news, but in reality, they are not subscribed to the same system. You see what I mean? So once you understand who you are, you won't need to trade your birthright for half the price. Imagine you have the whole thing. You can have your cake and eat it. Imagine you can have your cake and eat it. When it comes to the things of God, you can have your cake and you will eat it. You will have the whole kingdom. You will have another kingdom. You will plunder the wicked, the kingdom of the darkness. You will bring many to the faith and you will keep thriving. Whatever everyone is calling a conspiracy, that is not your conspiracy. Whatever everyone is saying, when everyone is sitting around and just saying, oh, things are tough, oh, sijui the government has done this, the government is doing this, that is not your portion. Once you know who you are subscribing to a totally different system. So yes, I hope you're challenged, because for me now I know that I am satisfied. I am satisfied with that which is my portion, because my portion is the Lord. Hey! Actually, the Bible says, when every tribe was being given a portion of land, their portion, the Levites were not given, and this is the reason. The Lord said, I am your inheritance, I am your portion. But you see, now the Levites represent the priesthood system. And now we moved from the Aaronic priesthood, now we're operating in a new priesthood. So guess what? Even me, my portion is the Lord. He is my inheritance. So whatever else is going south, it is not going south for me. Whatever else is not working out, for me it is different. So my November will not be difficult. My December will not be difficult. 2024 will not be difficult for me. Things will be different. Things will be different because I subscribe to a different kingdom. I get my instruction from a different kingdom. I get my strategy from a different kingdom. Everything concerning my life comes from a different kingdom. So best believe that I am secured. So guess what, darling? I am okay. I promise I am okay. So I hope you get to be okay too. I hope that everything that has been troubling you, especially if it concerns the economy, if it concerns things being very difficult on you, I really hope I hope this message resonates with you. That for some reason, it will just, the veil will be removed from your face, and the scales will fall off of your eyes, and you will begin to understand that whatever is not working out for everyone else cannot be your portion. As for you, the Lord is your portion. So be encouraged. It's going to be okay. I am okay, I promise. You are also okay, I promise, if you only believe. So yes, that is my encouragement for today. I hope you are really blessed, and I pray you don't change your mind. I pray you can't mama. I pray you don't mama. I pray instead that you will stand in the gap and realize, oh, I am actually different. I can now start calling shots even for my nation. I can call shots for my family, because I receive my instructions from a different kingdom. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for telling a friend about these videos, and thank you for being loyal and sticking around. Okay, thank you. Share, comment, and subscribe. Yes, subscribe. Bye.